Welcome to Amazon Legends, where we have real stories about making it big on Amazon. Our guests are CEOs of large companies and entrepreneurs who became power sellers, also providers specializing in helping sellers, aggregators that acquire sellers, and former Amazonians will give us an insight from behind the scenes. Here is your host, Nick Uresin.
Welcome to another episode of Amazon Legends. My next guest today is actually having his second appearance because he's brought something to the table that every Amazon seller who's building a private label must know about. And we brought him up, and actually he reached out to me and he said, "Hey, Nick, I've got something here that's generating good results. You want to talk about it?" So we had a chat, and I said, this is a must for everyone. So he's here today. So from his first appearance, you will remember, he's a former English teacher, turned Amazon seller, turned a listing expert. So he applies all his skills with using the language to turn the listings into something that you can communicate about. He's the founder of Guava Listings, that works with brands, and also an Amazon SEO masterclass. So when he's not working, he's always traveling. And first time I met him, he was in Hawaii. Today he is in Mexico City. So he's a passionate travel, and not travels, but also lives all over the world. So with that, it's my pleasure to welcome again Eddie Wheeler. Welcome to the show, Eddie.
Hey, thanks for having me. Glad to be back.
Oh, I'd love to have people who have interesting things back, but also I'd like to, of course, keep in touch with all my guests, and as I do, and you're one of my top guys. So tell me, what is it that you discovered about SEO?
Yeah, I think what I've discovered is just applying tactics for like an ongoing / long-term plan, as opposed to just a set and forget that a lot of Amazon sellers tend to do.
Yeah. So this is all about ongoing SEO strategies after you launch. And there are things that you do for launch, but things that you must do that are different once you launch. So what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so there's three distinct Amazon SEO levels that I've defined, right? One is the foundation, and then the next one would be about expanding indexing. And then the third one, which is a later stage, would be about actually boosting rank organically with SEO tactics.
Okay, so describe to us briefly each one, and then we're going to dig into it and then see, what is involved in implementing, so to speak, each level.
Yeah, so level one is the foundation. A lot of people know quite a lot about this. There's different keyword research methods, mining data from your competitors and getting the most vital keywords in. And the goal for that in the first month and a half is to index for 200 plus keywords, organically index for 200 plus keyword phrases. Then in SEO level 2, which is expanding the indexing, you'll actually kind of go in and revamp, a lot of times, mostly your backend SEO, so that you're kind of incrementally over the next few months expanding your indexing so that you are indexing for 800 plus organic keywords. And then SEO level 3 is about seeing what valuable keywords. Now you've already hit the 800 indexing level. Now you'll go and see what keywords are on the bottom half of page 1 or on page 2 that you can actually elevate to rank 1 through 19 through getting them in multiple times. Of course, there's some rules with that, but that's the gist of SEO level 3, organically boosting rank on valuable keywords.
Okay, so since I like numbers always, because numbers tend to be agnostic, they tell you the story. And is there a significance to 200 and 800?
Yeah, so 200, like that's kind of like your base, right? That's your base. It's the most important keywords, phrases that you will have for your listing, and those are the most important. So you really want to get those first, and then but expanding it to 800, these are the keywords, right, that still apply to your product, but maybe not quite as important, but there's still more traffic opportunities, right? Even if some of these keyword phrases only have 100 search volume, well, if you're ranking on the top of the page for that, you're going to get all those sales. So it's just kind of going in and just trying to find as many traffic opportunities as possible for that 800 number.
Okay, so would it be fair to say that the 200 is, I mean, because you're going to get indexed for all kinds of words. So I guess my first question is, what makes a keyword one of the most important keywords?
Yeah, that would be right through your initial keyword research, seeing what your competitors are ranking for, seeing what's relevant. Of course, in my keyword research method, right, we assign a relevancy score to see what's on page one, how many competitors are ranking on page one for this keyword. And then that would be important. Then, of course, looking, of course, at also the search volume and the competition and kind of making your decisions there of what's are going to be your most important, right? You're absolutely most important, kind of making the decisions from that point.
So in terms of the identifying which ones are the most important, so would you prefer the ones where your competitors are, you have more competitors on a keyword or less competitors, but also has, so discuss the relationship between picking, because the most important is it's an unknown. It's different things are important to different people. And so for our operation, what makes a keyword the most important? We have how many other competitors are on it. We have the search volume. And then there is another concept, which is short tail, long tail. And there's another concept of buying keywords versus, all the other keywords. So lay it out for us, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be making efforts to get those 200 on the wrong ones, right? So you want to pick the right ones. So lay it all out for us and tell us how to pick those.
Yeah, so it's really important, right? Like I said, kind of using like the countif formula, perhaps in Google Sheets, to assign how many competitors, that's the relevancy score. So it will show you how many competitors are on page one. If you're looking at 10 competitors and all 10 of your competitors are on page one for this, then it's probably highly relevant for your product as well, as long as you picked your competitors correct and they're similar to your product. So it's something that you definitely want to look at. And then also, we usually, we usually do an approach where it's picking ones that it's like a balance, right? So looking at the mid-level competitions or the long tails and seeing how many of those already encompass the ones with higher search volume. So you're trying to get those, these maybe longer phrases that already encompass, for example, right? Maybe we have white water bottle that we're targeting, but large white water bottle is less competitive, but it encompasses both large white water bottle and white water bottle. So looking for any times you can get those 2-in-1s, and then creating, a very balanced, right? So the ones with higher search volume should definitely go into your title and your bullet points. That's where you're going to get the most SEO value, but then also making sure that you're getting these really lower competitions. I hesitate to give exact metrics because it does vary per product niche, right? If you're selling massage guns, it's going to be really high competition, high search volume. But if you're selling a replacement product or a replacement cap for this water bottle, it's going to be super low search volume, super low competition. So I hesitate to give exact, but it's really just looking at the market and making sure that you are kind of you have a balanced approach to how you're choosing these keywords, and then always looking for how you can get 2-in-1 or 3-in-1 kind of stuff.
I see. Okay. So when you have 2-in-1 and 3-in-1, those are the core keywords that make up those combinations that you're looking for, right? So the example you gave, white water bottle, exists in water bottle and then large water bottle. So that's why you would want to go after the water bottle one.
Yes.
So in other words, that water bottle is going to be one of the 200, but you don't want to include the large water bottle in that 200.
No,
Is
you
that okay?
wouldn't. You would include that in the. It would be. It would you would get all three. Of course, water bottle is going to be insanely competitive. You will index for it most likely, right? But large water bottle or large white water bottle, right? You should be indexing for all of those by just getting in that one keyword phrase.
Okay, so those in your creating your target list of 200 keywords, you will only have the water bottle as one of those 200, and then that effort will get the other two also indexed, right?
Yes, yeah. So they would all be included in that.
The other one is the competition. So going in and checking how many competitors are on page one on that water bottle. So what is the is there a number? I mean, obviously this is different for every listing. So what are you looking for exactly? You have, because there will be other listings. There will be competing listings on that particular keyword. So how do you know that, okay, this has a lot of competition or not so much?
Yeah, I usually go with, of course, we'll look at the number of competing products, but in Helium 10 specifically, if you're using Helium 10, I like to look at CPR, which is the estimated amount of sales you would need to make in an 8-day period to be ranking on page one for that keyword. And so 8 is the lowest, right? So if you have a CPR of 8, that's super low competition. You can rank very easily for that, but most likely it doesn't have a lot of search volume. All the way up to, and then maybe into the lower 20s is pretty easy. From about 20 to 50 is a bit more like mid-level competition, and then over 50 it's going to be more competition and it's going to be more competitive to rank for that. It's still possible, it just might take you a little bit longer, and those are usually the ones that you want to have encompassed within mid-level and long tails in your title and bullets, right?
Okay, so you're looking at you're judging the competition by looking at the CPR in Helium 10. So
that's the main. You can definitely look at competing products as well, and we do, as well as title density, which is how many estimated products have this keyword phrase in their title. That's another really good one. But in general, right, if you have to look at something, we're usually looking at CPR as the main metric for how competitive it is.
Okay, so what about the search volume? What kind of search volume puts a keyword on the target list?
Yeah. So in general, right, you don't really want to have anything lower than 300 search volume. That would be pretty much the lowest amount that you're targeting. Of course, it varies, right? If it's something that's incredibly niche, of course, you can go lower. But for the most part, you want a 300, 400 minimum search volume. And then, if it's something like massage gun, then you're probably looking at something where you're going to need, at least an 800, 1000 minimum search volume. So it really does depend on the niche, but in general, more than 300. And yeah, and then of course, you want to get it as high, you want to get some higher volume phrases in there, again, encompassed within these long tails or mid levels. And, of course, that really depends on the niche. It can go up to, 100,000 for some products, right? So,
yeah. Do you really want to go after those ones that have huge volumes, like 50,000, 100,000?
In general, no, and not at the start, at least. You want to kind of build up your sales history. But again, sometimes, of course, because if you already have white water bottle, you're going to get water bottle in anyway. It might not be something that you're really focusing on your PPC. I'm not a PPC expert, but that is a lot more competitive. However, in the later stages of SEO, you might be able to go after those really high volume phrases, if of course they have to be relevant, right? If you are selling, a math puzzle, a math like educational puzzle for kids, you don't want to necessarily go after educational toys, right? Because it's too general. There's not that much buying intent. It's going to be hard to maintain that rank. But perhaps, math puzzle has has maybe 20,000 search volume, let's say, and maybe you can't get that at the beginning, but later on you can be more competitive for that. So
yeah, okay, all right. So this level 1, 200. So how long is that? So before you launched it and a week has gone by. So when does the level 1 start and when does the level 1 end?
yeah, so level 1 encompasses, it's the beginning, it's the initial keyword research, figuring out, of course, like writing your listing and getting those keywords in the full keyword phrases, and then making sure your backend search terms, or AKA generic keywords on some listings, are the most important individual words, even if they are already in your title or your bullet points, which will change in level 2. But so, right, if you're selling a white water bottle, you'll have white water bottle, large, you'll have all these keywords in your search terms, because it actually speeds up indexing for those various keyword phrases and combinations that those keyword, of those words that they can make. You could also have Spanish and misspellings, but definitely need the top individual words from your keyword research in there. And then essentially, as soon as you've launched, you would check back in 30 days to check the indexing. If it's met 200, which in a lot of cases it has, right? If you've done your keyword research right and insertion and everything, in a lot of cases within 30 days of launch, you will have that 200 level. If not, check back in 2 weeks. If it's still not at 200 plus, then you might have to actually go in and redo and retarget and kind of reconsider what keywords you're targeting and everything. But as long as it has that 200 plus, then you can move on to level 2. So a month and a half.
Month and a half. Okay. So really, there are several factors here. What you're looking at is, first of all, you've got to have a target list of keywords that you want to go after. This has to be pre-planned, where you got those 200, and then you prepare your listing with those 200 keywords in mind to make up your titles and the bullets and everything else. And then you trigger your PPC campaign as soon as you launch your, if you are in the Vine program that your price point allows, and all that stuff is going on. Because I know it's not your area, but another thing that's important, which will help you ultimately rank up in those keywords, is your conversion, right?
Of course, yeah.
And your conversion will be heavily influenced by your reviews. So you want to trigger that review collection process, whether it's Vine program or any other way. So now you are keeping an eye on, okay, you have selected those 200 keywords based on how much competition there is, that they are reasonable search volumes for you to go after. So you're not chasing after those thousands and thousands, but you're looking at anything between, at the very least, 300. I like to start at 500, but again, it depends on the category.
Yeah.
So say 300 to, so maybe 10,000. And that range is a range that you're going after, and good enough competition, which indicates demand and the search volumes, and then you just simply start tracking, and then you make sure in that list of 200 you're picking the core keywords, not the long tails, but the core keywords because that will get you going. So is that a good summary of your level one?
Yeah, that would be good. You can definitely get some long tails in the A+ content alt text because it's backend. It doesn't really need to flow very well. And so that's a good opportunity to get some of those longer tails into the backend SEO. But yeah, overall, that's a very good summary.
Okay. So a month and a half gone by, and we checked, and we are indexed for more than 200. But the first 200 that we said that we wanted to get indexed for, they are in there. So now we start level 2. So describe level 2 for us.
Yeah, so level 2 is, again, all about expanding indexing. And so here's what you would do, right? For every time that you're going to update keywords, you absolutely should do fresh keyword research. So doing another set of keyword research using the same competitors. Maybe you can vary that a little bit just to vary the data a little bit, but in general, using the same competitors in level 2 for your keyword research. And then it will be going back to the backend search terms and changing those, revamping those. So now at this point, you will remove any individual word from the search terms that's already in the title or already in the bullet points. Right. So if you're selling the white water bottle, you're going to remove white, water bottle, large, everything that is already in your title or bullet points should be removed. And then you can go back, and using Frankenstein and Helium-10 can really help like sort the data. You can go in and just copy a bunch of the keyword phrases, go into Frankenstein, deduplicate, and then just kind of build your backend search terms kind of fresh from there. So, anything that you're putting in there should start to index. And it's not just the individual word. Like, let's say we put container, right? In the backend, it's not in our title and it's not in our bullets. Now you should start over time, right? Indexing for water bottle container, large water container, all those types of things, right? So it's all the combinations possibly. And so that's what's going to expand your indexing. Again, in your backend search terms, you can have Spanish, you can have misspellings, you can have abbreviations, right? So just kind of all based on that. And so it doesn't happen overnight, right? It takes some time to get to that 800, and it might take multiple runs, right? You might have to experiment with different, once you've indexed for container, maybe you go in and you try to index for a plethora of misspellings or whatever it might be to get to that 800 keyword distribution, which, it can take some time. It's a minimum of 30 days, usually at least 60 days. And then it can take up to a few, like 6 months from launch, 5-6 months from launch is like a good, if it happens sooner, that's great. Great job. But it can take some time. So it might take multiple runs of updating your backend search terms. And then that's pretty much the gist of level 2. Okay.
So when you start level 2, you're looking at your, now you have an additional 600 that you want to bring, right? So you have to go pick those 600 and right, that's
so
the first.
It's not necessarily about picking, like going in and like manually picking 600, because when you're playing around with all these like new individual words that you're adding to your indexing, it's like they will kind of like make the combinations. And again, there might be some that have really low search volume, but if you're the one that's indexing and perhaps ranking for, right, you're going to get those sales. So it's like a lot of times stacking these lower level ones on top of each other, and these different combinations that maybe you're not even aware of, maybe it didn't even come up in your keyword research, maybe your competitors aren't ranking for it, but because, or maybe one of them is, or these lower level relevancy scores, but now that you're the one that's indexing for it, so and perhaps ranking for it as well. So it's kind of like not necessarily going in and picking 600 words, but using the keyword research to make, extract these new individual words that will make all these different keyword combinations, keyword phrase combinations.
Okay, so you're kind of making up the long tail key phrases using what you are already indexed for.
Yeah.
I have a quick word from our this week's sponsor.
Channeled is a marketplace and e-commerce partner for growing D2C brands. Our senior team provides a more comprehensive approach to marketplace management, including channel P&L, proven strategies, and better execution. We use a data-driven approach for full funnel Amazon ads, including DSP. Get a free account audit and a $1,500 bill credit during your first 3 months if you partner with Channeled. Visit channeled.net/argometrics to learn more.
So for the listeners' benefit, I just wanted to go back, and for those who are not familiar with it, I want to clarify something. So you mentioned Frankenstein. Frankenstein is one of the Helium 10 tools where you use to make up your titles and your bullets, so that when you pretty much load up your keywords into Frankenstein, and then as you start to make up your titles, it will tell you that you use this keyword, that keyword, and which one is right. That's what Frankenstein does.
Well, so yeah, that's Frankenstein kind of like it works with Scribbles, which maybe I'm not sure if that's what you're like. That helps you. Like Scribbles is the one where you're writing your listing, and it'll tell you when you
Right, that's what I'm referring to. Yes, I'm confused.
Yeah, no,
right.
no worries. Yeah, so Frankenstein is just a tool that can help you kind of like take your keyword list and then like kind of deduplicate it. So it gives you a list of individual words that you should use. And then that's really good for creating the backend search terms and for when you're writing your listing, right? So because when you're writing your listing, right, you're going to go for exact match a lot of time. But if you have the chance to get in an individual keyword, perhaps for this, it is, let's say, container, right? So we're not, maybe we're not really super targeting water bottle container, but we want to get container individually in somewhere. And that's what kind of Frankenstein can just kind of help you build that list, because it takes all the keyword phrases from your keyword research, and then it can spit out just the individual words once, so that it's easier to kind of track. You can copy that into Scribbles along with all of your exact match that you're going to use. And so, yeah, it's just a really helpful tool. It just makes the whole thing easier, especially when creating your backend search terms.
Yeah. So the idea is to get all the keywords that you are indexed for loaded up into Frankenstein, and then have Frankenstein give you the long tail keywords.
Yeah, it will give you the Frankenstein will give you the individual words.
Yeah.
So that and those will all make up, right, the long tail keywords.
You can make up the combinations that you want to go for.
Yeah, from the individual words that you get.
So, and one question also I want to get your take on is, so Amazon system is strong enough that if you put 5 keywords in a particular order, it will index you for different combinations of it in different orders, right?
Yes.
So if you are already indexed for certain keywords, why do you have to make up different combination long tail keywords if Amazon system is already going to index you for it?
Yeah, so it's just about it's really just getting these individual words in that you haven't had before. For example, if we don't have container in the title or the bullet points, we might have a keyword phrase in the back end that has container, but it's less powerful there, or so if you get, it's just making sure that Amazon is recognizing because let's say we haven't used container for our water bottle product. It's just making Amazon recognize that this is a individual word that it should be indexing for. And then therefore that's where so it's not about getting water bottle container, large water bottle container in exact match, because maybe those aren't the best, but we still want to index for it. And so by putting container into the individual after we replaced water bottle, large, everything like that, getting that into the back end will over time help you index for every keyword phrase that has container and water bottle, or, everything like that. Not every keyword phrase that has container, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. So kind of like with the combination of the other ones.
So, okay. So now when you start level 2, you're going after the 800. So you've identified which 800 you want to be indexed for by using Frankenstein or any other way to make up the combinations out of the ones that you are already indexed for. So I heard you mention you remove them. Where are you removing them from? From your title, your bullets?
So yeah, so not removing them from the title, but removing them from the backend search terms, aka generic keywords, those 250 character bytes, right? So you would remove, so water bottle, of course, is in the title. So in the backend search terms, then you remove water and bottle and large and white and everything like that, because they're already in the title or the bullets, which then makes room for these new individual words that we weren't able to get in to the title or bullets in the first go, and they're still not there. So that's what's telling Amazon to index them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're keeping your title and the bullets intact, and then you're using backend keywords.
Yeah, SEO level 2 is pretty much all just backend work. Not that you say that you can't update some things, but in general, it's mostly just backend work to get to that 800.
Okay. So how about the alt tags for A+, replacing those? Would that help in addition to the backend?
Yeah, so it can. The alt text and the A+ content is like the least, has the least weight in the SEO. So yeah, like it's great to get some long tails in there, and you might already have water bottle container in there. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to index if it's in the alt text. A lot of times it does, but by putting it in the backend search term section, which is like really important for SEO, you're pretty much going to guarantee that you're going to start indexing for water bottle container type root words like that. So so in SEO level 2, we're not really, again, like you can play around with it a little bit, but for the most part, it's really those backend search terms that are really helping the algorithm to understand that it should index you for these terms. In SEO level 3, we will play with the alt text.
I have something important for all my listeners. Sellers lose money on lost or damaged inventory with Amazon, which can add up to a lot over a year. Did you know that there is a way to claim all your losses? Getida is the global leader in Amazon FBA auditing and reimbursements for Amazon FBA sellers worldwide. They deliver results with no upfront costs. They get paid only when you get paid. Visit www.getida.com/legends to learn more and sign up. And thanks to our friends at Getida, your first $400 in reimbursements will be free. That's www.getida.com/legends. And that's www.getida.com/legends. I have another interesting question that kind of came to my mind based on one of my previous guests mentioned. So anybody listening, if you go back and check Norman Farah, and he's also known as the beard guy. So I recorded an episode with him, and we went through a bunch of things. So one of the things that he said was, get someone that you know to post a question for your product. And then because now that there is a question, and still there's nothing here that is a black hat. This is completely in compliance. Yeah. So get somebody to ask a question about your product, but get them to ask the question you want them to ask, so that it can address something particular. So then you answer it and pack it with all your keywords, because questions and answers are indexed. So tell me what your take is on when to use this capability.
Yeah, it's it's not really something that I've actually looked into that much, if I'm just being fully honest. I have heard about it. It's definitely on my long list of SEO to-dos to kind of figure that out. But yeah, I mean, definitely there's no harm in trying it. And if Norman's his name, right? Yeah, I think I know him, the beard guy. Yeah, if he's saying it, then it must be, tested, and he wouldn't say that without testing it. So definitely a good thing. Now, I don't know about this, please don't go ahead and do this, but it might be something you could think about. That might be a place where you can start to get in the question. If a customer asks a question that has one of the banned terms like ADHD or something like that, maybe that's a place where you can start indexing for it. I don't know, but just kind of thinking out loud here. So just my own thoughts. Because if it's the customer, I can't see how they could. If a customer asks a question, I can't see how Amazon could suppress your listing or anything like that. So that's one. I know in reviews, right, people will use, of course, like if it's an ADHD product, they might use ADHD or, these types of things that Amazon doesn't really like to have in your listing. So that's one possibility. Again, I have not tested this, just my meandering thoughts, but.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about indexing the content. Now, the other somewhat neglected part of the listing, because there is A+ content, it's the product description, right? So there is, for those who don't have A+ content, product description is displayed, and product description has 2,000 characters. So first, let me confirm. Does product description get indexed even though you have A+ content?
Yes, it does. Again, there might be some less power behind it than the title or the bullet points and stuff, but it definitely does. And often what we'll do at Guava Listings is write the product description, as if it's going to be displayed. So that way, if it's, taking a week or two to make the A+ content with the graphics or get that approved, you have something to display, and then something that the search algorithm is going to recognize as well. And then you can go in and, change it. Typically for a while, I was of the mind of just rate the product description with keywords. I'm starting to kind of look at just trying, after the A+ content is up and it's in a category that the product description is not, there's some categories where the product description and A+ content show. But if it's not showing, which is in most cases, then go in and write another, I don't know, put another 40 keywords in there or something like that. And again, that might not have the same indexing power as the title, the bullets, or the backend search terms, but it's definitely worth having and getting keywords into there. So you might want to write it first. If you're still creating your A+ content or still getting it approved, you might want to just have something that has good copywriting, can be read, and then maybe later go in and just take away the copy, and just kind of add keywords.
Yeah. So we have some more, if you like, depositories to put keywords in. So the top ones that drive your indexing is title, the bullets, and the backend. Then you have the alt tags in A+ content, pictures.
Yep.
And then your product description.
Yep.
And your Q&A section. So these are all areas where you can pack in keywords, but of course, they won't be as powerful as the title and bullets and the backend.
Yeah. So the title, bullets, and the backend search terms are definitely the most powerful. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't fill them in as best you can. Even your A+ content plain text. I know a lot of people don't like using plain text modules. Like Guava Listings, we use the 2 standard 4-image modules, I believe they're called. because it's still very symmetrical with these banner size images that people like and probably what's going to be affecting your conversion rate the most. But in those blocks of plain text that still flows, it's still visually appealing, it still looks good, you can also get in, a keyword phrase into the plain text there. So that also can help as well.
So A+ content, as long as it's text, is also indexed.
Yeah, the plain text, right? Of course, like not if you're just graphic designly putting
Right.
not, but yeah, your plain text. So that's why we do it. There's a benefit to it. And some other people might say like, trying to get a bunch of plain text in. I don't really think it looks, very visually appealing or, eye-catching when you do it that way. But with the 4 standard image, I forget the exact name of it, but it's the 4 that go across. We do at Guava listings, we do 2 in a row, and then we're getting a keyword phrase in each of those blocks of plain text and still making the images nice, and it still, flows really well. And our clients have had a lot of success with the formula that we use.
Yeah. Okay. So we are still in level 2, and I heard you mentioned level 2, even though it starts like after 6 weeks or so, it can go up to 6 months. Is that the case?
Yeah, that's, a lot of times, again, it can happen in 30 days, rarely. It can happen in 60 days sometimes as well, like after, level 1. So, maybe 3-4 months in, but usually it's around the, 6 month is when you're achieving this. It really does depend on the product as well. But yeah, so about 6 months in is when usually you can kind of expect to be in SEO level 3.
Level 3. Okay. So let's now move on to level 3. And what are we doing in level 3?
Yeah, it's my absolute favorite. Once I discovered this, I was like, oh my gosh, you can do this. So it's I really nerd out about level 3. So level 3 is now, and it really only works once you've had this 800. We've experimented with less. Some super niche products, it might work with less, right? You have to make a determination, right? If you're selling a replacement bottle cap or something like that, right? You might have less, but in most cases, right? It's you hit that 800 plus organic keyword distribution, and then that's what helps SEO level 3 have its full effect. SEO level 3 is you identify valuable keywords that are ranked 20 through 50. Right? So the bottom half of page 1 or on page 2. These words you could actually very easily be ranking 1 through 19 on, and even 1 through 10 in some cases, right? It kind of depends, but that's the goal of SEO level 3, is to get these really highly valuable keywords that you're not ranking incredibly well for, but it's still kind of on the radar, and elevate them to 1 through 19, hopefully 1 through 10. With just organic SEO tactics, no more extra spend on PPC. This doesn't replace PPC by any means, but you don't have to go in and put more money into PPC or anything like that. So you identify these, let's call it 6 to 8. In some cases, it'll be 3 or 4. In some cases, it'll be 10. It just kind of depends on what the data you're showing. And then you're going to get these keywords in multiple times, right? So let's say that white water bottle is in our rank, let's say it's ranked 30, but we want to get it to 1 through 19, hopefully 1 through 10. We'll probably put it in the title. If it's not already there, it might already be there, but if it's not already there, probably put it in the title. Bullet points, put it in the bullet points, put it in the product description, put it in your A+ content plain text, and put it in your A+ content alt text. Again, it might already be in some of these places, but just making sure that they are. And what that has, and then doing that, of course, you can't get all 6 to 8 in the title, right? You're going to have to make some determinations. You don't want to remove anything that's already 1 through 19. It's kind of like a surgery on the listing, right? So there might be something that's already ranked 1 through 19, but white water bottle has way more search volume. So you move that, the one that's already ranked but has lower search volume, maybe you move that into the product description or something like that. from the bullet points. Like, so, you know, there's all in the SEO masterclass, you kind of get all of the rules, the specific rules. I won't go over all of them right now because it's just too much, but that's the general gist of it. So you get these 6 to 8 keywords in as many places as possible, right? So if you're targeting 6, probably you want all 6 in the bullet points, get all 6 in the product description, get all 6 into the A+ content plain text, and get all 6 into the A+ content alt text. And what we're seeing, right, is, of course, it's not a 100% guarantee, right? There's other ranking factors, of course. But what we've seen with many clients is that we're getting them into the top 1 through 19 and even the top 10. We had a client that we got, you know, the 8 target keywords, I think had something like 28,000 search volume. They were all ranked through 20 through 50. And then we got them all ranked 3 through 7. So we got 8 keywords that were on the bottom half of page 1 or on page 2. With just this method, we got them ranked 3 through 7 for, you know, 28,000 searches a month. So you can only imagine how much more organic traffic and sales you're going to get from that, because you're in the top 10. You went from top 20 through 40 to now in the top 7. And yeah, so.
Yeah. Okay. So I can see why you would totally nerd out on this, because it's really honing in on what's working already. You don't have to start anything from scratch. You are already indexed for it. So now you are starting to target. Okay, so let's dissect this a little bit more so that we have clear understanding.
Yeah.
So again, for the listeners' benefit, when you say 1 through 19, 20 to 50, you're referring to where they rank in the search results. And that is based on each page has 20 organic listings. So when you do a search listings come up, and those search listings come up in different ways. Sometimes you have just a vertical column where everything is listed in one column, and sometimes you have a grid, and you are seeing, and in both of these options, you are seeing sponsored listings. Yeah. And you have sponsored brand, you have video ads, you have whatever the case may be. So you'd see those don't count. We're told, and every page will have 20 organic listings. So when Eddie refers to 1 through 19, he's basically saying you are on page 1. And if you are 16, 15, whatever, you are in this second half of the page. But when he says 20 to 50, then you are on either page 2 or page 3. So that's the first thing. The second thing that we want to clarify is what makes keywords a good candidate to hone in on. Is it the search volume, the competition? Do you apply the same formula again to pick those 6 to 8?
So usually, right, well, of course, it's got to be logically relevant. Like you'll go in and sometimes you'll see some really random ones. So of course it has to like logically make sense for your product. And of course, like nothing against you, like nothing, you'll see also probably you're ranking 20 to 50 on some of your competitors, like with their brand names in it. So of course you can't use that. So it's really because you're at this stage, because you have sales history, you're really not even really looking at the competition and not even really looking at the rank. Wherever you are in 20 through 50, it's fine. I sort it by search volume. And so I take the highest search volume because you're at this phase, right? It's because you have the sales history. Now you're way more competitive for the higher search volume phrases. So going for like pretty much just picking your 6 to 8, depending on how high the search volume is. Of course, it has to be logically relevant. And of course, it can't have brand names or, you know, anything that's against TOS, of course. That's how I'm doing it. Now, of course, right, you know, in the very first run of SEO level 3, so you'll actually rerun this every 3 months from this point on. And just, you know, because the thought is, right, especially if you're getting these kind of search volume, you're getting in the top 10, 5 for, you know, a lot of search volume, you're going to be making more sales. And now, right, you're going to be competitive for maybe some higher volume. So like now 3 months later, there might be a whole new set of keywords that are ranked 20 through 50 that you can now get in, and it's kind of like cycling through it. Of course, it's not a perfect world, it's not a perfect system, but that's the general idea, right? So, I have some clients that they have, they're in SEO level 3, but the ones that they don't have that much search volume in that they're ranked 20 through 50, but I say, we should still run this, get these ones, right? You'll be making more sales if you still get these 6 to 8, even if they only have 300, 500, 600 search volume, you'll be making more sales. And then hopefully in another 2.5, 3 months, when we come back to it, there's going to be some more higher volume phrases in 20 through 50 because of how many more sales you're making and stuff like that. So,
yeah. So Eddie, can you share with our listeners or viewers where they can go to get a list of all the keywords that they are indexed for?
Yeah, so I just go to Cerebro, Helium 10 Cerebro, and then copy your ASIN into it, and you should then see all of the what you're listed for. There's a metric there in the keyword distribution that says organic, and so that's how many organic keywords that you're indexing for. So that's kind of where you'll make your determinations of what SEO level you're in, what you need to do, and everything like that. And then you can also get your list, right, of what's ranking 20 through 50. Something I forgot to mention is that also, in addition to the 800 keywords that you need to be indexed for level 3, you also need to be ranking at least for 50 words that are ranked 20 through 50. That's another, just a little metric that you also have to kind of take into account. Yeah, so that's how you get all that data, is through Helium 10's Cerebro.
So 20 to 50. So you're saying there should be 50 keywords that rank you between 20 to 50.
Yeah, before SEO level 3 can really have its full effect. And these words, they don't even necessarily need to have search volume, right? They just have to have that 50, right? It could be words that have 100 search volume. You're not going to target those ones, but it's just an indicator that your listing is ready for this SEO level 3, is that it has at least 50.
So this is kind of your readiness test. Where are you ready for level 3? So it's not just a matter of waiting for 6 months and it's okay, now I'm level 3. So you're gonna go in and you're gonna check that you are indexed for 800, and at least 50 keywords will put you on page 2 or page 3 or rank you 20 to 50. Once you do that, then you say, okay, doesn't matter what, how much search volume there is. Then you say, even if it's little, but still those keywords put you on page 2 or page 3, then you are good to go for level 3. And then at that point, you can hone in on those 6 to 8 keywords, pick those out, and then insert them into title, into bullet, into A+ content, if you have plain text or alt tags, into product description, your Q&As. So you're saying put it everywhere, right? That's what.
Put it everywhere. Yeah, get those exact phrases in as many places as possible. Again, not removing anything that's already ranked, or maybe moving those. All the rules are in the masterclass. There's too many rules, I think, to go over all of them. But it's like surgery on the listing. But yes, getting them in as many places as possible, because that's what's going to have the effect to boost the rank. Yeah.
And another thing that you shared is do this every 3 months.
Yep, every 3 months, go in and check. In some cases you can check, but it does take some time for all these results to happen, so you don't want to mess around with it too much. But yeah, every 3 months is good. You could even consider doing it every 2 months, but every 3 months is pretty sufficient time to do this, because then you'll have all the effects. You should obviously also be making more sales, which will then should make you more competitive for higher volume phrases, perhaps. So it kind of just gives everything some time to make sure that those higher volume phrases are getting ranked 20 through 50. And then you rerun it, and then you go after those higher volume phrases, and you just kind of keep cycling through it. And Well,
this is great. I mean, you say surgery, but It sounds complicated, but surgeries usually are. But for anybody who's had surgery or anyone who knows who's had surgery will know right after the surgery, it's a whole different world, right? So the
Yeah,
life gets
exactly.
better.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that's what this does. Eddie, this is so valuable information. Thank you for sharing with the audience. So, as you know, my drill is I always, in the end, dig into who you are, and
Yeah.
we already know who you are, but let's now get a little bit more detailed into who you are. So tell us about your this interest in traveling through the world. So where do you think that came from? How did you get that first thought about, oh, I think I'm gonna do this?
Yeah. So really all stemmed from me studying abroad in the Netherlands. And so I've always even when I was a teenager, my family actually, we didn't really travel very much at all. So, maybe we lived in New Jersey, we would go to Virginia or upstate New York, so it really wasn't that much traveling when I was young. But that first experience of going abroad and living in another country and just really growing a lot, right? We're learning about the world, learning a lot about myself, instilling a lot of self-confidence in myself, which I didn't really have at that time. So that kind of really helped, with my self-confidence and everything. So after that, I just knew that I didn't want to live a normal life, at least not in the interim. So I knew that I wanted to have another experience of living abroad. And then that's what made me look into teaching English in Vietnam. After I worked for 1 year in an office, but then I went to Vietnam. And then it was there that I realized that, and then after that, I thought maybe, I'll go back to the US, get a job, regular career. But it was out there meeting people that were working online, sustaining themselves online, finding out about Amazon FBA, everything like that. I was like, wow, I can actually sustain this lifestyle of going to different places while working online, while becoming an entrepreneur. And it's just awesome. So I lived in Thailand, I lived in Hawaii, I lived in Mexico. Now I'll be going to Colombia in September. So yeah, it's just fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, different cultures always, it's an eye opener how some things are very different and some things are very similar but used in different ways. So when you mentioned that growing up, you didn't travel much. So, I mean, some people are content with not necessarily doing some of the things that they don't do. That what was it that you wanted to travel? Was it something that you saw on TV or whatever? So, I mean, we're not always doing everything, but we are not also necessarily desiring them either. So what was it that got you to say, oh, I want to travel? I haven't done it.
Yeah, I just think I've always had a innate call to adventure. And, I couldn't really, think of anything more adventurous than living in another country and getting totally, just involved with the local culture and learning and everything. So yeah, it was just this internal call to adventure that I've always had. I was an Eagle Scout, so I did a lot of camping and backpacking trips in the mountains and the woods and everything like that. So anything that has it's just breaking the pattern. It's being in a completely new environment. It just really excites me. So I think that's really where it all came from, was just this innate call to adventure that I've had since I was a kid. Yeah.
And another thing I picked up on is I heard you mention that you didn't have such a high self-esteem.
Yeah.
So what was it like for someone who lacks self-esteem to suddenly end up in a foreign land? What was that like?
Yeah, that was the first day that I was that I had went to the Netherlands, and I was 21 at the time, so quite a long time ago now. But I remember just like eating like this like crappy burger that I got. I was just like, I'm like, man, I don't speak Dutch. Like, I was really like down, and like maybe I was like, oh, maybe I bit too much, more than I could chew, like literally as I was eating the burger. And then, but also I'm like, I don't know, like about this. This is, kind of like head down. And but it was like that for like a few days. But then as soon as I started meeting people and, some of the girls were paying attention to me more than they did maybe in the US, because I had that, I was the foreigner, right? So, yeah, just slowly but surely, and actually not that long a period of time, that all those like doubts and those, everything that was going on in my head, it kind of just like, evaporated. And, I was just happy and enjoying life, maybe not going to class as much as I should have been. I was always a good student, but not in the Netherlands. But yeah.
I see. So, this kind of speaks to something I always advocate. Life throws blows at you, things come from all directions, and some of them knock you down. And it feels terrible when you first get knocked down, or something that you're not familiar with, you're not comfortable with, you get hit with it. So the first instance of it, it's really tough. You feel vulnerable, and yeah. But the trick is just hang in there, because it only gets easier to cope with it, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel, after 5 minutes, it doesn't feel as bad. After an hour, it's nowhere near how it felt. It still feels bad. You're still stuck with it. And so I guess, so in your case, you lived with this, low self-esteem thing for 21 years. And then here you are in the middle of, a foreign land. You don't speak the language. It feels bad, but then it just got better and better. That's what I'm hearing, right?
Yeah. That's pretty much exactly what happened. And yeah, I mean, that's probably where a lot of my love for travel came from, was because the coming up, and the rising up from all that, of my past, like really like, happening in the Netherlands and happening while I was traveling, probably has a lot to do why I still have such an affinity for it. And it does, like, it still jazzes me up. Like, like when I was coming to Mexico, I was like, all right, like new place, like new people, new language, new everything. And now in a few months, when I go to Colombia, it'll be the same language, but, still a different way of life, different, new friends, new girlfriends.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to get into that, but that's a whole different podcast. So, do you ever go back to those places that you spent a long time and then see the people that you met, or is it a one time?
I haven't been back to the place in the Netherlands. However, the good friends, like my best friends, I've seen all of them at least once since I left. It was like, I'm 29 now, so it's like 8 years ago. And then I still actually, one of my best friends, who's from Korea, who was in the Netherlands, like he lived across the dorm from me. We're still best friends. We're still like, we still see each other. He came to Mexico City. He's actually living in LA now. So I visited him in LA, and so, yeah, we still see each other very often. So, yeah.
That's great. This conversation reminded me of something that I heard a while ago, and I'm sure people have, you may have heard yourself. You meet people for a reason, for a season, or for life. Yeah. So you sound like you are someone that people get to meet for a season, and then you move on, right? Some of them you obviously stay in the picture, but it looks like you are a very seasoned kind of guy. Meeting.
Yeah, there's a lot of seasons. There's a lot of seasons, but and that definitely at some point in my life, of course, like I'll settle down in one place. But for now, these new flavors of the world, these new seasons, I'm kind of addicted to it. So.
Yeah, yeah. Well, plus, world is changing, so the experience is great. Great, Eddie, great conversation, very valuable knowledge that you shared with everyone. So tell us, you mentioned SEO masterclass. Tell us, how can people reach you, and tell us a little bit about the SEO masterclass. How can people take advantage of it?
Yeah, so the SEO masterclass. I'm not sure if on the episode you'll link in a form. I'm not sure if you do that or not, but if not, you can go to guavalistings.com, and on the homepage there'll probably be a pop-up that comes up, but there's also multiple places to sign up for it on the website. You just fill in a short Google form, and then we'll start sending you the in 3 modules over 3 days. You'll get that. It's free for a limited time before we start selling it. We're just kind of, want to get it out to the world, get some feedback, probably make some improvements and stuff. So it's free for a limited time. And it'll just go pretty much, it just goes into detail, right? We kind of touched all the surface of it and hit the metrics, but the masterclass has step-by-step written guides, video trainings that I did, like kind of demonstrating all of the rules and the step-by-steps, and then some helpful templates to kind of help you organize everything.
Great. So we're recording this at the end of May of 2023. When it gets released, check out the website that Eddie shared, guavalistings.com, and if it's free, sign up, because it's not going to stay free for long, since they are just in the introductory phase. So thank you, Eddie. Thank you for being recording another great episode.
Yeah, it was great to be on again.
Before we wrap up, don't forget to visit www.getida.com/legends to learn more and sign up to claim money for your lost or damaged inventory with Amazon. Your first $400 in reimbursements will be free. www.getida.com/legends, and that's www.getida.com/legends. Also, don't forget to visit www.channeled.net/argometrics to get a free account audit and a $1,500 bill credit. You will join the hundreds of DTC brands they have helped reach their goals. The address is www.channeled.net/argometrics. That's CHANNELED.net/argometrics. Thank you, and this brings us to the end of another episode, and I'll see you on the next one.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the episode, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too.